today's video is operation and maintenance on the AF series flail mower. So the first point with setting up the machine is hitching it onto the towing vehicle, whether that's a UTV like we have here, or a quad bike, or perhaps a pickup truck maybe, anything with a 50mm ball hitch. I'm going to do this in reverse. We want to just be highlighting how we use the ball hitch. To take the ball hitch off the hitch point, this handle you need to lift up and then away from you, and it comes off. The handle is in this forward position, as you can see here. It stays in this position, and then when you latch it in, it will automatically engage back onto the ball. That is now hitched on, nice and safe. On the back here, we're looking at the height adjuster. It's a very simple operation. This you can change from various heights depending on if the wheels are on the side or the rear, doesn't matter. And it's very simple to operate. You just remove the R-clip and then you pull the handle over and then you'll start winding this either way. Now I'm lowering it currently, or you want to raise it up slightly. Now this very much depends on what you're trying to do. Once you're sort of set with the height, you just do everything in reverse, put the handle back over, refit the R-clip, job done. On the height adjuster, you need to make sure that the pin at the back here is in the bottom hole when the wheels are on the side. And then when you put the wheels on the rear of the machine, this pin needs to be in the top hole to achieve the same level of cutting height. On the front above the drawbar, we have the turnbuckle. This here is so that we can level out the machine. You can gauge this by the flat piece on here, on the deck, and also the top of the engine. Now you want to do this on hard standing, level ground. Now you'll do this either way. Now the main reason why you might need to do this is so that you can fit it onto different types of towing vehicles, because you know the hitch points might be at different heights, and also the ground conditions. Now I've got that fairly well level there, and I would then at the top of this turnbuckle I have a lock nut. So I would then wind that down towards the middle. I would use a spanner, but now that cannot move. So all the models through the AF series have a rear scalp roller. Regardless if that's the 120 or the 160, it will be full length. You need to have it just off the ground depending on what you set on the cut height. You don't want it running on the ground the whole time, because otherwise it will be overloaded. Down here, there is a bolt. You'll be able to change the height of the roller with different positions, so that's no problem. So you don't have to do everything on here. The idea and the design of that roller is to protect the machine. If it was to go over a large undulation in the middle or a tree root or something like that, it will protect the machine and is designed to carry the full weight. One really important aspect to the machine is the kill switch. Now this is a safety feature, nothing more. Now it's really important that you do install this. Now on a quad bike, for example, you'll have rear racking. This has got a couple of points here, you can just click that on. On a UTV, there may well be some other points where you can mount that, but it will need to be close to you in the driving seat. You then have this red little sort of cord. This attaches to you. So if you come off the vehicle while you're in operation, it will kill the engine. So there's no risk of you getting trapped underneath the machine while the engine's running. This will reach all the way into the cabin of the UTV, and that will go around your belt buckle or something like that. So just sorting out the process for starting the engine. The first thing you need to do is attach the loom to the vehicle, whether that's a quad or a UTV. We're using a UTV here today, so I'm going to just take off the screws for the battery terminals, and I will be putting the red wire onto the positive terminal, and then I'll be putting the black wire onto the negative terminal. It's worth noting that we also have a resettable fuse, which is currently disconnected, so when I click that in, the system is good to go. Once you've fitted your cable on the vehicle end to the battery, now you need to make sure you route that away from any moving parts or any components that might get hot. Now this is slightly loose, this is just for the demonstration purpose of this video. Now you have the other end that comes and is already secured and wired to the engine, and you just literally have to plug that in. Now when you remove the machine, obviously you have to take that off as well, but that now gives your engine power to be able to start on the key. So we're now in a position to start the engine. There's a couple of steps that you need to make sure before you do so. Step one is make sure that the flail rotor drive is in this position closest to the engine, which means it's disengaged. Step two is turn the fuel on. Now this is the same for the AFX and the same for the AFR. Little tap here. You come round to the other side. Step three is pull the choke out. Once the engine has started, you want to push the choke back in fairly much straight away. And then the fourth step is to turn the key. the AFR, AFX, they are electric start as standard. However, they can have recoil pull start. Now, if you want to use the pull start, you do still need to have the ignition switch on. You don't need to have that connected to the battery for that to work. On the AFE models, it is only a pull start. It's a slightly different engine, and that's only pull start, no electric start, so you don't need a switch, you don't need a battery to power that one at all. Just a point of reference, if you're using an AFE, you don't need to do some of the things you've seen in this video, which is to do with the battery cable, because that is not an electric start. However, you will still have the kill switch. That is standard across all models. At the back here, we have this handle. This is the engagement handle for the Flail drive. Now, this at the moment is disengaged. Now, you would just move this back towards the back, and it locks in place. That is how you drive it. Now, that's the second step. First step is when you start the engine. You need to make sure you do this on low revs. With the low revs, you can engage the drive nice and slowly and get this rotor engaged. Once the rotor is engaged on idle, you increase the engine revs. When you're actually using the machine through whatever you're cutting, you use the engine at full revs. Then when you're disengaging the drive, you lower the revs first and then disengage the drive once the revs have idled accordingly. When you're engaging the drive, make sure you're stood at the side of the engine, because the exhausts are going out the front, and if there's anything in the mower, it will come out the back. So if you're at the side, you're in the safest position. Now that's engaged, that's idling, and I'll use full revs. Now to disengage the drive, I've lowered the revs. Just wait for it to catch up so the flails are going at the same speed. And I'll now disengage the drive slowly. Just wait for the flail rotor to catch up with itself as the flails are slowing down. You'll hear them rattle, which is perfectly normal. Flails are now stopped, so it's safe to turn the engine off. Before you go into the area that you're looking to mow, it is really important to note is your forward speed and your cutting height. Now, if you've got a large area with a lot of dense vegetation, you need to be aware of your forward speed. If you're going too fast, the engine may well drag down, so the revs will decrease. Now, you need to make sure that the engine doesn't do that, and if it does start to do that, you need to slow down so the engine can keep maintaining its full engine revs. You can also help that situation with the cutting height. If it's too low, trying to go through too much material, then you might need to also just quickly jump off the vehicle and adjust that up a little bit, which will make life a little bit easier. But if you drag the engine down, you could make the belts slip, and you don't want to be doing that. Now, if you're to hit something heavy that the mower can't get through and it's going to almost stall the engine, operate the kill switch immediately. That will protect the machine. If you have this machine running with excessive vibration, because if you've hit a foreign object, you may well have broken a blade. Also, stop the machine just so that you don't do any damage to the unit, because vibration through the machine can sort that out. If you need to replace any blades, it is very straightforward to do so. So if you do feel vibration, stop straight away and check out what you need to do. How do we put the wheels from the side to the rear with our swing lock feature? Very simple. Step one. We lift the wheels all the way, so the wheels now will free spin. Step two is to remove the hand wheel, and then we'll swing this round to the side. So you very simply remove this hand wheel here, take the washers off, don't lose those, remove the coach bolt, swing that axle around, locate the bolt, make sure that the square shoulder locates into the hole properly, refit the flat washer and the spring washer in that order, and then the hand wheel goes back on the outside, do that up as high as you can, and then do the same thing for the other side. And then the next step is the height adjuster. So you need to move the height adjuster from this bottom pin to this top pin. Now what you need to do is take the weight off the pin first. So you can take it out and then wind it all the way. Once you've now put the height adjuster in the top pin hole, you can then adjust the height accordingly to suit what you're doing. So you can push the wheels back down and lift the deck, like so. And then once you've done that, one thing you'll need to do is you'll need to adjust the turnbuckle on the drawbar to level out the deck again to suit accordingly. Just going to check the belt tension. Now you need to make sure that the flail drive is engaged for doing this. You don't need to take the belt cover off. Get yourself a flat bladed screwdriver. You can poke it through this hole, feel where the belts are, and just make sure that the belt tension is there. You want it in and around 10 mil of movement, and you know that you've got the right tension. Just on the maintenance point with the lubrication, we have the flail rotor bearing here, which is an 8-hour grease point. There's one freely accessible here behind the wheel. Now the other one is behind the belt cover, and it has the same grease point. We have the rear roller. You have 2 bearings, one on each side, both accessible, and you have a grease point here as well, daily grease point. And then the only other grease point we have is on the height adjuster, which you can do a bit more periodically. Do check the manual for the grease intervals, but on the whole machine there are only 5 grease points. Just having a quick glimpse here of the AFE. Now the engine is different to the AFX and the AFR. The main difference between those two engines is the horsepower. However, this one is a little bit different. We have an on-off switch over here. We also have choke control, fuel stop, and then we also have the hand throttle for the engine revs. When we're using the AFE, the flail rotor is not engaged with a handle like the AFX and the AFR. So what we need to do is on low revs, the engine is just ticking over and the flail rotor is not engaged because it has a centrifugal clutch. So the flail rotor will engage at a certain engine rev point, but you still need to operate the machine at full revs. So all you have to do is set the engine full revs and the flail rotor will be up to speed, and then when you want to stop the machine, you bring the revs down to idle and the flail will stop. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you have got any other questions about this machine or any of the AF series flail mowers, please do get in contact or ask your supplying dealer. The other thing as well is that there is a assembly video, so if you've got to this video before that one, please do let us know. We can direct you to the other one to help you get this machine built up before you get to any of these stages. So, like I said, if there's anything else you need, please get in contact, and thanks for watching the video.